Welcome traders. In this video you will learn how to access and use the high, low, and other price data with BloodHound. As you can see, I have SI Chameleon on my chart, and that's indicated by the green markers and the red markers and the dashed white line. So SI Chameleon is a special indicator that comes with BloodHound, and its purpose is to give you access to all the price data available from NinjaTrader. So as you can see on the indicator interface, it has the close, high, low, median, mid, open, typical, and weighted prices. And you'll also notice that there's a designation after them. So there's a SMA, stands for simple moving average, and then the high bounds, low bounds, right? So there's two different designations, the SMA and the bounds. The reason why the close price has an SMA is if you use this look back period, it will create an SMA of the close price with the look back being the period number. So if we look at the white dashed line, you can see it's not matching the closing price, but instead it's an SMA3 of the closing price. Now if we look at the high bounds, which is marked by green, and the low bounds marked by red, we can see that the bounds designation means that we are looking back 3 bars to find the lowest low, or we're looking back 3 bars to find the highest high. So we can see as the high price steps down that on this bar right here, if we look back 3 bars, this was the highest high. And if we keep going to the next bar and we look back 3 bars, this is the highest high. And the same with the lows. So on this bar right here, if we look back 3 bars, here's the lowest low being marked, and so forth. So now if I set this look back period to 2, it's going to change the SMA period for the closing price. So now we can see the closing price line changed because it's now an SMA 2, and then the low and the high bounds have changed. So we're only looking back 2 bars for the lowest low and the highest high. So next, let me show you some examples. In this logic template, what I have set up is I'm looking for the low price to move up for 2 bars in a row and then give me a long signal. So as long as the low price keeps moving up, I'm getting a long signal. And then the opposite for looking at the high price. So if we start up here, the high price steps down for 1 bar, and then on the second bar, the high made a lower high, and then I get a short. And as long as the high keeps moving down, I'm going to keep getting short signals. So let me show you how I have this set up. So I'm using the comparison solver, and you can see I have SI Chameleon, an indicator A, and an indicator B. And in indicator A, for shorts I'm using the high bounds for shorts and the low bounds for longs. So just to reiterate, when the high price keeps stepping down, I'm looking for a short signal. And when the low price keeps stepping up, I'm looking for a long signal. So therefore, that's why I'm using the highs for the shorts, and I'm using the lows for the longs. And this is set up exactly the same way. I'm using the high price, or the high plot, for shorts, and I'm using the low plot for longs. And if you notice, the displacement is set to 0, which means this is the current bar. A displacement of 0 is analyzing the current bar, and for indicator B I have a displacement of 1, so I'm looking at the previous bar. So effectively what that is doing is if this is the current bar, indicator A is this high price, and indicator B is 1 bar back, this high price. So I'm comparing the two and making sure that they're stepping down. So I want to see at least a 1 tick difference to make sure it's stepping down and not equal. And then I have my outputs set like such. And for the next solver, I have SI Chameleon set up exactly the same way as the previous solver. I just changed my displacements. So now I have a displacement of 1 and a displacement of 2. So once again, if this long bar is the current bar, I'm actually looking back 1 bar, comparing the high here to the high 2 bars back. And hence the displacement of 2. And so the large amount is set to 1 tick and the outputs are the same. And I'm just putting them both into an AND node and then directly to the result node. Alright, so let's move on to the next example. In this example, I'm looking for long wicks. So if we take a look on the chart, if I have a long upper wick, then I'm going to get a short output. If I have a long lower wick, I'm going to get a long output. So we can see right here we have a really long lower wick, and I'm getting a long output from the lower wick. And when we have this long upper wick, I'm getting a short. And the way I accomplish this is I'm comparing the closing price to the low for longs and the high price for shorts. Right, so I'm comparing the closing price over here to the high price to get shorts. So I have the high price plot set to short. And then down here I'm comparing the closing price to the low for long signals. And the way I'm able to compare the length of the wick is I'm using this ATR setting. And so I have the period set to 1. And so the ATR, right, is a measurement of the total length of the bar. And so if I have this set to 0.5, that means I'm looking for the wick to be 50% of the total length of the bar. All right, so you take the high to the low, divide it in half, and I'm making sure that the closing price or the opening price is at 50% or higher. And here's how I have the output set up. Solver, I'm comparing closing price to the high and low. And in this solver, I'm comparing the opening price. That's what the O designates, is the opening price. So in indicator A, I'm comparing the opening price, whereas in this other solver, I was comparing the closing price. So if we go back to this one, I'm using Chameleon to get the opening price. And then once again, I'm using Chameleon to compare the high and low prices. And I have the large amount and small amount set to the ATR, and the output's the same. And so when I join them all together in an AND node with also the bar length because I want a minimum bar length. So I'm looking for a bar length of at least 7 ticks. That way it ensures that I get a decent, long enough wick. So if I'm looking for a bar that's at least 7 ticks long, then that means the wick has to be at least 4 ticks. Now let me get back to one of the unique features that Chameleon has and how it got its name. So if we bring back up the indicator window, you'll notice this parameter setting here. Use alternate instrument or time frame. So if I set this to true, you'll see that I can plug in here a different instrument. I'll just pick one at random, and I can put that instrument on any bar type or time frame period I'd like, and Chameleon will feed me the price data from the ES instrument and whatever time frame I choose. So that's how it earned its name, the Chameleon, because this indicator can become any instrument price or time frame. So I could even set this back to the CL and then use it to gather the 5-minute chart data or 15-minute chart data, since my chart is already on the 5-minute. So if I hit apply, and you can see that the look back period changes quite a bit. So I'm still using a look back of 2, but the look back period is looking back 2 bars on the 15-minute chart. So on the 15-minute chart, this is the lowest price for 2 bars looking forward. Alright, that concludes this tutorial. Thank you.